All right. I think we should be good. How's everybody doing today?
Hey, good afternoon, good morning.
Give us a little thumbs up if you can hear me here. I think it didn't want to catch up on my stream key initially, but I think we have it. We should be okay. And let's see. It looks like we should be all right. How you been doing, Andrew, while we get this thing booted up here? How's the week been for you?
Yeah, it's been a good week. Didn't really trade much yesterday, but I've had a good start to the week. I had my main play actually was riding the euro and the British pound up, playing basically weakness in the yen. So first start of the week was great. Yep, and pretty much flat for yesterday and today. I'm sitting on the same position that I've been in all week actually from about Monday morning. Asian time. I was
Nice.
short euro pound, and I've been sitting on that little puppy all week. I think you were in that one at some point. I think if you maybe you still are. But
Yep, I
yeah,
piled
but
in. I piled in a group of 3 orders short and moved my stops down, and my stops got hit, but they were in profit. They were all in profit except for the last little order. So pretty nice trade actually.
yeah, I saw your trade idea. I mean, I was in that one as well. I mean, I mentioned it on my stream this morning actually. I mean, I have moved my stop to break even on that one purely because I was at basically 1-to-1. You know, and I'm also was giving out the story that I'm not a big fan of moving my stops too quickly to break even. You know, due to some analysis I'd done last year that basically showed had I not moved my stops, this is only like a 3-month period actually, I'd have fed out better by not moving my stops. But on this occasion, I hit 1-to-1 in terms of where my initial stop was. You know, and coming into the weekend now, I didn't want to be, and it was also ahead of the UK GDP numbers.
Right.
I didn't want to get spiked out to a losing trade, not only for financial reasons, but also that has a psychological reason. When you see a nice profit, I was like a 500 on this account, like $500-600 up in profit. You don't want to turn that into a loss.
Right.
So I moved my stops to break even. So at the moment, I'm still in short pound, Jason, but I'm stopped at break even. Just to answer Tommy's question in the same breath, Tommy asked me, do I carry positions over the weekend? I generally don't, to be honest, Tommy. Tom, I don't generally take positions over the weekend. But it is not, you know, it's not set in stone. Depending on what the position is, it's highly likely that I will just close out this position for the weekend and reassess it on Monday morning. You know, the weekend does have its tendencies, especially with Trump around these days, that can cause some volatility. You know, I remember one time when the Swiss National Bank announced something on the weekend and you know, devalued against the euro, and you know, it's really it sometimes can be a lottery. So preferred choice not to carry them, but not set in stone. Highly likely I'll close this one out. Can you hear me?
There you go. You got me now? It was
Yeah, what happened there?
That was me. I had to mute it out to have a little sneeze a couple seconds ago. I must have pushed the wrong button. Yeah,
sneeze or snooze?
Sneeze. That's funny. I put a little teaser trade short euro Aussie last night during the Asian session trade. I used about half my normal lot size on it, and that one got stopped out. But you know, it's okay. I wasn't real positive on it.
Short euro Oz.
Yeah, euro Oz. I was hoping it would line up nicely with my euro pound to the downside. Usually Euro Aussie's my baby, but you know, we had to get a little bite out of there. We did cover the DXY. DXY, I was just looking here this morning, came right back down to that double bottom support now, and now it caught a bid again. It just can't break beneath that 98.57, 98.58 level. What's your take on that one?
That's the Trump candle, Jason. I've been banging on about for 4 months.
yeah. It's right on.
Yeah, it's key level. It's key level. It's also the 200 DMA. If you look, I think at the 200 DMA on the daily. Yes, daily move. So yeah, it is a key level. I mean, it just doesn't want to break through it. I mean, I think the market's been very tolerant of the US dollar at the moment. Weak numbers coming across the board. Tax pledges from the Trump administration with no real plan of how they're going to implement it. You know, these numbers out today, from the US GDP number, they were flat, verging on weakness, but the dollar's caught a bit on the back of it. I mean, you know, we're supposedly in this rate rising cycle, but we're not seeing the data at the moment that's giving us any real reason to think, well, that they are going to move in June or what have you. Remember last year they promised 4 hikes and they only delivered 1.
Yeah,
this year they promised 3 hikes, they delivered 1. Are they going to deliver 3? Not set in stone. don't think for any moment that this is set in stone.
Right.
You know, Trump is struggling at getting anything through at the moment. This weekend they could go into meltdown. They could go into shutdown. You know, the US government shut down, close down.
Right.
Unlikely.
Right.
But you know, the numbers, we need to see some more buoyant numbers for this dollar to get back up to 101 and motor on up. So I need dollar strength at the moment. I will look at with skepticism, quite honestly, until we see something more fundamental coming out. I mean, there's other currencies that you can play to terms of strength. I think, and maybe that's not the best one at the moment. I don't know, euro, British pound, SNB, Swiss as well. Look at the just on that euro Oz trade that you took. I didn't see you take that trade. I think there's three built. You've got the commodity currencies. You've got the Canadian dollar, Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar. They're all the weak currencies at the moment. These are the currencies or the countries that are not sort of hawkish in their outlook in interest rates. You've got the hawkish outlook in euro, in pound, in US dollar. So I'm more inclined still wanting to play the long sides with those stronger yielding or potentially high yielding currencies against the low ones. And so that wouldn't have been my direction in the euros at that moment in time. Yeah, but
no, I got you. When I took that trade last night in Asia, I took it half size for a reason, and the big reason was I said I'm not liking Aussie strength. You know, I think the Aussie's pretty darn smashed weak, and we were looking at your momentum meter, but it was a decent risk to reward, so we jumped in on it. I don't like Aussie strength at all. I think the Aussie's getting beat up, and what I've been saying on my streams this whole week is the Canadian dollar, probably one of the weakest currencies across the board. You got the dairy stuff going on with the U.S. import taxes, the lumber, 20% tax on imports and lumber's up to 23%. And then you got the price. Now, crude's been popping up a little, but if you look at an hourly or 4 hour, crude's been just falling out the bottom. So you got crude that's beating up on the CAD. You got the lumber. You got the dairy. The Canadian dollar's under a lot of pressure. I think it's one of the weakest currencies right now that's out there.
Well, I picked a call in the room in the week for those that are listening in. We had I think the lumber import was on the Tuesday, and then on the Wednesday, Trump turned around and said that he wasn't going to pull the NAFTA yet. At the moment, it's under review. Right. And of course, the Canadian dollar had a right pop through. Popped up and caught a bid, put 100 points on against the US dollar, I think. And I thought, boy, that is what an overreaction. This is just on one. On one statement from Trump. And you've got to remember something about Trump, right? Trump, he's a businessman. Look at it. I haven't read his book, but I've seen the synopsis of his book. It's all about the art of the deal. You do something now for something that you want to happen down the line. He's quite calculated in this. Right. So whatever he says today does not mean this is what is going to happen, because this is his starting point. So so that overreaction that you saw, the blip in the Canadian dollar when he talked about get NAFTA over review the day after putting the tax on whatever. It's all part of his plan somehow. We don't know what it is yet. Right. And since then, the Canadian dollar has been sold off. People got wise to it. Thankfully, I was long pound CAD on the back of it for about 30 or 40 pips, which was nice. And the CAD is indeed under significant pressure at the moment. Not only the points you mentioned, but also the oil prices and also the economic data that's coming out there at the moment. Economic data, we just had. The flatlining. We just had some data out now. GDP out, not particularly inspiring there, and they're missing their targets out in Canada as well at the moment. So the Canadian dollar, of course, you have your pullbacks and corrections, but in terms of a longer term strength, if you're looking to swing trade, 2 or 3 points out of the Canadian, I mean, I wouldn't want to be buying it, put it like that. I mean, and if you can pick up a stronger currency, something like the euro or the pound, where they're talking about interest rate hikes, the Jahi yesterday was as dovish as he always is, trying to get the talk down. But at the end of the day, it's something like the Euro CAD. Euro CAD is potentially got some mileage to to a couple of 100 points.
Yeah, that's right on. Pound CAD's been great too. I mean, we were looking at the pound CAD last night, and the thing's gone up 900, 1,000 pips in the last week or two. I mean, just a crazy move. I read something that you can call it entertainment, but it's information as well. Trump's Twitter feed. After that NAFTA thing, remember we had that, like you mentioned, that big pullback in CAD, 100, 120 pips after he said, I'm not going to break NAFTA. But then on Twitter, he said, I received calls from President of Mexico and Prime Minister of Canada asking to renegotiate NAFTA rather than terminate it. I agreed. But then his next one said, subject to the fact that we do not reach a fair deal for all, then we will terminate it. Relationships are good. Very possible. So in other words, he said, I'm not going to get rid of it. Everybody went crazy. And then he said, they're going to renegotiate, but if it's bad, we're going to kill it still. It's like, and then you saw how the market, I mean, just classic reaction to Trump's comments. I mean, we had the CAD just pop up, huge strength, and then it just all drifted right away. And now we're weaker than when we started, So it's just something to be safe on. It's a good
Absolutely.
reason to always keep your stops.
That was my, on the Wednesday, I do that update for a few hours before, when you come into the room. That was my update, looking at the CAD central pot. I think that's the words I used, and it worked out very well. But and that's back to Tom's question about the about holding things over the weekend. It only needs a few of those comments coming out, and in the pair that you're in, if you're in New Zealand, and then all of a sudden he starts putting on, blurting off against New Zealand over the weekend, you could find yourself New Zealand, plummeting to the floor. And if you're on the wrong side of that, that could blow your month's money. So you've got to be careful in this environment with Trump. I mean, obviously now we've got the tensions rising with the geopolitical concerns. He's now standing off with Korea again, North Korea. You've got Carl Vinson off the peninsula there, if it is. So that's all kicking off there again. All we need is a few comments like that coming out of the weekend. Then it's all back on, and the risk is on. Everyone starts buying up the yen. Everyone starts buying up gold. Gold could hit 1,300. Yen could be up. Yen could be back up there as well. You could see dollar yen trading down at trading up at trading down at 108, something like that. It's all very sensitive to what Trump comes out with, and
that's right. Yeah. I think that's a really good point. I mean, my trades are closed. I'm flat right now going into the weekend. I have a buy limit on the dollar CAD that didn't get hit. We were talking about that last night. But I say the same thing. I don't advise personally to hold trades over the weekend. If you have some huge profit and you want to increase your stops, that's fine. But if you're going to be in a trade over the weekend, you got to be on the side of geopolitical unrest, like selling the yen pairs or buying gold, because that's where you get the big, huge gaps if there's more missiles fired or something like that. I wouldn't want to be on the other side, put it that way. So
there's no way Kim Jong-un is going to come out and say, okay, guys, Trump wins, I'm going to give up everything and you can have all my... It's not going to happen, is it? I totally agree with that. That's a very good point. If you are going to take... Yes, that's a very good point. If you are going to take weekend trades, it's got to be on the risk on... it's got to be on. It's got to be on the fact that the geopolitical risks are there.
Right.
So, so I totally agree with that. Yeah.
I think you're going to get, if you're going to get any surprise over the weekend, it's probably going to be a surprise, to the downside on the yen pairs or to the upside in gold or crude. There was a question. There's a couple questions here. Let's see. Can you discuss gold? If it breaks 1249, then what? We're at 1266. To the downside. If the support breaks. I think if it breaks that, it's going to continue to push downwards. The big decision maker for me is the DXY. I mean, we have the dollar index. I don't have my chart up right now, of course, but the dollar index has hit that top of that Trump candle that Andrew was talking about, that 98.50s, and it's squished in between support and resistance, and it's just sort of hovering in there. I think the DXY direction is going to change everything. I mean, I've been talking about a weak dollar all week, but now we're bounced off the bottom and it's strengthening up here in the last couple hours. So.
Yeah, I think that's right. I also think, first of all, in terms of gold, I'm not looking at the charts at the moment, but for me, gold, we've got this big support level at 1255, which again is the 200 DMA. It's also a level that held us on the way up, so it's going to hold us on the way back. For me, the big thing about gold, well, if you remember last week when we were looking at the risk on, risk off, I'm sure you call that risk on, where we had the geopolitical concerns mounting. Yen was being bought up, gold was being bought up, stock markets were coming off. At that time, the gold market was moving in the same basically direction. Dollar was trickling up, and so was gold trickling up. So there's almost like they almost like moved in sync. So I agree with you that generally dollar, gold, go sort of opposites. But it is also possible that they start moving in the same direction. So I think the biggest concern in gold is what you just mentioned, is the geopolitical risk. Right. If you see that all kicking off, there's much more potential to the upside in gold, approaching 1,300 rather than abating and seeing us back down to 1,200. So if you look at us now and bang in the middle of, say, that range, where's the risk? Geopolitical risk isn't going away.
Right.
You've got the US dollar going nowhere. Nothing really positive coming out of the US in terms of economic data at the moment. Of course, we've got non-farm payroll next week. Markets are going to be talking about that next week, looking at that. But the raft of data we've had recently is not really inflationary for the US. It's not really bullish for the US. US has got no real reason at the moment to start back hitting up to those highs we saw at the end of the year, beginning of January, or end of the year really. We saw dollar yen up to 119, and we saw index up at 103. We've got nothing really at the moment to put us up there. So for me, the gold play, risk reward, hold a gun to my head. We're going to hit 1,300 before we're going to hit 1,200. So if you had to flip a coin, that's the way I'd be on that one. So
I think so too.
I like.
I think so too. Last night I drew a little zigzag line on which way I thought gold could go, and I drew it to the upside. Not only because of the strong support level that you mentioned, it goes all the way back. I mean, I'm looking back on the 4-hour chart back to February, where there was support levels coming in at this price point. And there's also a very nice trend line if you look at gold on a 4-hour time frame going up from the bottom. So we have a few reasons, just technically, to be long on gold if you're trying to pick a direction. So let's see what else we have here. Andrew and Jason, can I ask, do you ever trade the indices or do you advise against it? I personally don't trade them. I know there's a lot of traders that do. I have the indices up. I watch them very closely, of course, because of the Forex trading, but I don't trade them myself. Back in the old days, 6, 7, 8 years ago, 9 years ago, I tinkered with it a little bit, did a little crude trading, that kind of thing, but I just tend to do better overall with the currencies. How about yourself, Andrew? Indices?
Yes, I have done, and I would safely say I ventured into it, and I've been trading for many, many years, 30 years or plus or so, but on the screens for say since 2004. I started trading indices maybe a couple of years ago, and it was mostly only because of me. That's not because of the market. It mostly was my worst spell in terms of P&L. So I shy away from it now. I've always got, because I live in the UK, I keep an eye on the FTSE, and I have certain other interest in financial interest in where the UK economy goes. So I keep an eye on the FTSE. I don't actually trade the FTSE here, but I do have obviously a portfolio of other stuff that is relevant to the FTSE. But I don't play my local brokers here on indices now, purely not because of there are not opportunities in there. There are, and I read a lot of analysis, massive opportunities. Just for me, it's not my preferred play. And the other reason why I say that, Jason, is because of one of the reasons why I've chosen the Forex market. And I've been banging on about this for years, but only into your ears for the last 6 months or so. The markets are going up or down. The FTSE is going up or down. The dollar index is going up or down. Oil is going up or down. With the foreign exchange markets, at the moment you've got currencies that are going up and currencies that are going down. You've got two plates. And that's why I like it, because I like to have something that's working for me in both directions. That's why I don't like trading two currencies that are moving or hugging each other on the strength chart. I like to trade them when they're away from each other. That means one is strong and one is weak. As we've just highlighted there, the high yielding currencies with the US, Europe talking about tapering, UK possibly raising rates with if growth continues to pick up. So we're talking about raising rates in the UK, in Europe, and in the US. We're talking about leaving rates unchanged in Japan, possibly the next move in Aussie rates could even be lower.
Right.
Same in Canada. So I prefer to play the markets where I can have two sides to the equation, both working for me. So I prefer to trade the FX markets rather than indices, because it's just more gives me more clarity. As we're saying, we're selling Canadian dollar at the moment. We know why we're selling Canadian dollar. We're talking about the imports, the tariffs, the oil prices, and so forth. We're talking about weaker numbers. Okay, we know that. We've established that Canadian is maybe a weak currency. We established the last week iron ore prices, commodity prices, low, affecting Aussie currencies. We understand that now. Possible interest rate cuts in Aussie. Let's find something strong against it. Let's find something that's going the other way. So the euro, British pound, US dollar. That's why I play that more than indices. Long answer for a short question.
That's a really good answer, though, and I think it summarizes it up. I appreciate it. I dropped my, I know, if you're new to watching these streams, by the way, for everybody, there's a little delay here, maybe 10 seconds, 15 seconds. I posted a link to the gold chart that I had just so you can take a look. Let's see. There was a message to you. Andrew says, "Hi, Andrew. I downloaded the momentum meter, but I can't get it to download onto my screen. Any suggestions?" I've been getting that question a fair amount. There was a couple answers here, too. Let's see. You have to be with one of the
you're
partner
looking for the
brokers.
answers. First of all, my first question is to the guy or girl. Let's have a look at who you know.
It was Tim Armstrong.
Tim Armstrong. Oh yes, Tim. Okay, well, after the chat, come online. I know you just signed up, so come and talk to me. But if you do email, first of all, you make sure you're locked into one of the brokers that is linked to, which I think is AxiTrader in here. So you've got to link it to that. Mm-hmm. And then if you're still having continuation, there's a sort of step by step. But we do have a support team that can help you on that, Tim. And if you email support@forexsignals.com, we should be able to help. But after this stream, I've got to go to the school to pick up the kids. But then I'm back an hour later. Maybe we can touch base, Tim, and we can see if we can sort that out for you. But
yeah, cool. Let's see. Timothy24 says, Andrew, I remember what you said about the Aussie New Zealand last week. No one mentioned it at all, so I will. Good call. Nice. I didn't hear you mention it, but apparently you called it good.
I did call it good, and I think that was, let's have a look at my trading. I don't think I had a trade on. Tim, did you make any money out of it?
Myself or him? Timothy.
No, Timothy. Did he make any money out of it?
I don't know. We'll see.
Do you remember, Timothy? And this is a full disclaimer. I will normally have 2 or 3 trades open at one time. Mm-hmm. Part of this is because obviously a lot of people are focused on different currencies. Every trade call I make, and I don't necessarily take every trade. I normally would say to you, I'm not taking it. What have you? I think I did have that trade on, to be honest. I think I did have that trade, Aussie New Zealand, but it's going to be. But yeah, I mean, I'm pleased you made some money out of it. If you did make some money out of it, it was clearly an Aussie long play against New Zealand. New Zealand is another weak one. It's been dragged lower. And I think New Zealand at the moment is one that's sort of like going under the radar for a lot of traders. New Zealand's under pressure. Yep. Even now, I mean, Aussie sort of, they're like the 3rd weakest currency out of them, but the 3rd from bottom, as I say, so that's the 5th weakest. But Aussie New Zealand is still not necessarily a bad play. Buying Aussie, selling New Zealand, not the best play. I think you can take other trades against the New Zealand dollar, even taking the US dollar against New Zealand. We're just coming into like a pullback area on the 1 hour. If I remember looking at a couple of hours ago, New Zealand weakness at the moment is it's escaping a lot of people's radars. Certainly, and I think there's some opportunities there. Euro New Zealand, another one worth looking at. So
Euro New Zealand's a pair that I don't trade very much. I know Jenny was talking about Pound New Zealand and on the stream last night, and I just told her straight up, I'm like, I've never even seen a Pound New Zealand chart in my life. I mean, I just never looked at it. But apparently, some big moves. Obviously, with the pound, just like Pound CAD, huge moves in the last few days.
Well, that's it. But again, this is the active power of strength over weakness. You've got the New Zealand being dragged down with the Trump NAFTA and commodity prices subdued, and you've got the pound. Brexit, Conservative elections coming up. The elections coming up in the UK. So there's positives for one, there's negatives for another. That's why I think Jenny was maybe talking about it because it's got two-directional. It's a two-directional trade, and you can benefit from it. Yeah. That's so right. Timothy, I'm pleased you enjoyed that one.
Yep. We had another question from Alpha. Alpha helped me out with that nice Euro Pound trade, I think, a few days ago or last week. Any insights on why the markets tend to fill gaps? I mean, I'll give you my quick opinion. I mean, over all the years I've been watching the markets, I mean, basically that's the sort of the tagline. Markets don't like to see gaps, and they want to fill those gaps. But the question is, and you can chime in on this one, Andrew, what happens with something like, let's just, I'm not going to be able to pull it up here, but the euro dollar. We got this big gap up. It didn't fill. Fundamentals are still saying it should go even higher. I mean, do we focus on that?
No, I mean, okay, gaps are the same as Fibonacci, quite honestly. There's no, and taking an unusual technical analysis, if you look to the left of the chart, why should old support be new support? Old support be new resistance. Gaps are like Fibonacci. They're almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. You can't explain why that number keeps coming up in Fibonacci, comes in nature. The distance between your hand to here is the same. There's relationships there, pyramids, the shells on a reptile or seahorse. So why is that relevant to the financial markets? No idea why it's relevant to the financial markets. It just is. Why is I think in the old days on the trading floor, we didn't have all these technical charts that were moving sort of tick by tick. We did them manually on the with some girl or guy and the junior in the booth, putting X's and noughts on the charts as the price moved. And if she took a phone call and spoke to her boyfriend, she might miss a few moves, and that chart's inaccurate. But we just relied on it. So one of the technical analysis that we used, or two technical analyses we used, with the pivot points, and that's where the pivot points came from. And they're called floor traded pivot points because we all had calculators and we could work out high, low, and close, and work out a little formula on that. So they worked because we were in the markets all looking at them. And the other one we looked at were gaps. Because we started thinking, okay, that gap's got to be filled. Line should go that direction. Should be continuous. So we, as on the floor, floor traders before all this technology, we had these basic technical analysis that we followed. So gaps were generally filled. We'd push markets to gaps. The other thing is, for me, when I'm playing golf, I've got if there's a lake on the left-hand side, I see that lake. I don't want to go into that lake, but my ball gets drawn into that lake. I don't know what it is. It gets drawn to the lake or to the bunker. My ball gets drawn to these. Yep. Same as the market, it gets drawn to gaps. I have no idea why.
Yeah, it's a psychological thing. It's the same thing if you look at car accidents. When you're out in the desert driving, the car will always hit that freaking one power pole that's a quarter mile from the next one, because people just you look at what you go to where you focus. One of the techniques that I like to use with my trading is, number one, I'm not a gap trader. I don't try to fade the gaps right after the market opens. It's just over the months and years, it just doesn't pay off. But we have this upward trend line on this current price action on the euro dollar. And what I was mentioning last night in the stream is, if this breaks down and we start getting into the gap, then I feel like traders will be, putting momentum and, liquidity into selling to try to fill. In other words, once you're in it, I feel like it's going to go. That's how I feel. And I think a lot of traders are the same way, because there's nobody that's trading the euro dollar. If we start getting into that gap, that they're going to say, ooh, maybe there's support here. Because there's nothing, So yeah. I think if it starts to fill, it should complete. That's the way I would trade it.
Anyway. Yeah, I don't trade them. I'm aware of them on the charts. I read and answer that, but I've never pulled the trigger in terms of trading on a gap theory, either filling it or targeting it. I just haven't pulled it, but I'd certainly be aware of them. So the answer is, I don't know why. As you say, it's psychological. Same as Fibonacci. Why does a 61.8% work in Fibonacci on the charts? Because everyone's looking at it. If you look at, actually talking about Fibonacci, if you look at the, I haven't got my screens in front of you guys, so you have to do it. I'll be speaking about it anyway. But if you looked at I was talking about the 1618 extension level as targets. Now, the 1618 extension target, is a really powerful target in trading. If you looked, I call this way 50, 60 points away before we got there in the euro yen this week. If you looked at where we opened in Asia on Sunday night, or Sunday night London time, Sunday afternoon in the US and Asian opening. You looked at where we opened to the low of, say, Tuesday, so the low of that since the French elections, and then pull a fib there and take the 1618 extension. It takes you up to exactly 122, which is basically where the market stalled before it rolled back over. Which is actually 121.90, and it moved on a dime. We called that sort of like 60 points away on a Fibonacci because the market was looking at it.
Right.
That's a good point.
That's a good point. We were talking a little bit about Aussie New Zealand and trying to do a divergence trade on that yesterday. And it didn't hit because it wasn't a true divergence, but it was okay. But I was telling people where I put the levels, and my first target's always the 100 level on divergence, which is basically the swing low. But the target too is the 161.8, and it just works. I mean, it works a lot of the time. Now it depends on the time frame and where you're looking, and you got to look at other things. But it's a really powerful level. I agree with you 100%. The 261.8, the next step, that starts to be. I used to call those a full pull back in the day. If we were trying to do a divergence, if we got the full pull all the way, it would be 261.8. That's a long move for a lot of these trades.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, I mean, I don't look at that one, to be honest. I mean, but I look at the 1618, especially when you're coming into air and there's no real levels on the chart to the left that you can sort of rely on. The one, those extension levels are something to grab onto. I mean, powerful in their own right. So yeah, certainly be aware of them, and if you can get confluence, even better. confluence with price action, previous price action, very powerful. For take profit levels, or even minor counter trend trades. Get to that level. TC's profit taking. You can sometimes take 20, 30 pips out of the pullback. Certainly would have done on the euro yen. The euro yen we pulled off 120 points from that level.
Nice.
That we called. And the same thing happened in pound yen. Pound yen. If you looked at the pound yen 161 extension, again almost on a dime it was.
Very nice.
It was a really good call we made this week on that.
We had a question from Fira617, Andrew, Jason. Do you guys have Twitter accounts we can follow? I don't have them. To be honest, if I weren't, in the forums and doing live streams and everything, I would, but it's just too many things to juggle around because I'm still trading my own money. So I don't know. Do you have one, Andrew? I don't know. I don't think you do.
I don't populate it. I just follow other people. I don't populate it. I think for Forex Signals, we have a Twitter account here that we're going to. I think we're going to be working on.
Mm-hmm. I post the daily updates with Forex Signals, so you can look up that one. I don't have the link right here. Forex Signals Twitter feed. I put the daily update in there each time. I can post that link for you as well. There's a question here. I wasn't quite sure what it meant exactly. If you want to ask it a different way, maybe you could pick up on it, Andrew. It says, have either of you thought about producing a crib sheet for trades, which say if you're trading, i.e. dollar CAD, look at this and this first, etc., things that affect that pair. I'm not sure exactly what that means. You?
What was that? A crib sheet?
Crib sheet, just like a cheat sheet, like something I don't know.
Well, I think, I haven't thought about doing that. I mean, it's quite, there's 28 different currency pairs to trade, so there's quite a lot of work behind that. Right. What you need to do basically is have a grasp on, let's be honest, without blowing my own trumpet here, I mean, that strength wheel that tells you what you should be looking at.
Right. Right.
If everything's moving up above the line, well, that's what you want to be buying, and everything's moving down below the line, that's what you want to be selling. So that's really your cheat sheet. I mean, that's one of the reasons why I think we did it. I mean, it was just why I've been using it, because I'm not a fundamental trader, by the way. I trade obviously on the charts, and that gives me an indication of what I should be looking at. Mm-hmm. So I would use that as your cheat sheet. You
got it.
Yeah.
You got it. I put a link of the Twitter feed in there for you. You got a nice big picture up on the Twitter feed there, Andrew. I like it. I think they do have to edit it a little bit, though, because it still says Premium Trade Room on the top, and, of course, we don't have that anymore. And basically what you see if you scroll down is just all my daily updates I've been posting. That's pretty much what our Twitter feed here for Forex Signals has been with.
Where is it? Have you posted it?
I did. I put it in the bottom of the chat there. You can see the link. Let's see. I'm watching it open on your screen. Let's see if you can. There you are. Look at you.
Oh, my word.
I like it. What else do we have here?
Got to have a word of Dom. Got to get that off the site.
J Money says Pound New Zealand still looking good. Tom says a strength meter. You can also Google CCFP strength meter. Okay, we got that. Thank you. Hey, class. Happy Friday. Shay Baby said I made quite a bit from your Euro Yen. I'm assuming that's you, Andrew. Very nice job. Long weekend. Let's see. 100 at least Euro update from Morphez. Thank you. That and check the red news. Okay, cool. So that covers, I think, the questions that we had in. One thing that I didn't do yet, and I like to always, the people who watch my streams and in the chat room, one thing that I always do is I'm just totally honest, totally transparent. If I don't know something, I tell you, like the New Zealand, Pound New Zealand, I don't have nothing to hide here because there's just too much information going on to try to blow smoke and make up stories. So if you ever want the real deal, let me know. I have not looked at the next week's news at all yet. And it sounds like you did, of course, with the non-farm. But do you have any thoughts about next week? I don't want to put you on the spot, Andrew, but somehow I always do.
No, you can put me on the spot. No, you can put me on the spot. Well, first of all, I hadn't looked at the things. I just know from the last 150 years that I've been trading that non-farm payroll was always the first Friday of the month.
That's funny. Oh gosh, I just clicked over, but there's a lot of bank holidays here, of course, in the Eurozone.
Well, we got Labor Day on Monday in the US. We got holiday in the UK on Monday as well. Mm-hmm. It's Labor Day this Monday, isn't it? In the States.
I don't think so. Maybe. I don't even know. I'm so into the Forex, I don't even look anymore, and that's sad.
Yeah. No, but next week, okay, just on economic data, non-farm payroll is the biggie. Okay, so that's the end of the month. It was always the first Friday of the month, and that obviously is going to be going to be key. So what I say generically is that the US data that's been coming out recently has not been particularly good. Last month's non-farm payroll came in at I think it was 98,000. Average earnings at subdued at 4.5. So GDP again today, subdued. CPI in the week not particularly inspiring. So the market is looking for data. We're looking for some directions at the moment. We've got not such massive data coming out. So are these hikes going to be happening in this year? Market is going to be looking at data. So anything biggie you see coming out data-wise is going to be looked down by the Fed. Next week, all we've got really, we've got the FOMC statement on Wednesday.
Which is big. You know why I didn't know about Memorial Day and when it was? Because it's not for a month, Andrew. Memorial Day is not till May 29th. I was thinking.
No, I was talking about Memorial or Labor Day.
Well, Labor Day is in fall.
I saw something on Bloomberg today that it's a holiday weekend in the US.
Yeah, I don't see any. I don't think there is.
Okay, well, I'm looking forward to it anyway. Okay, I'm looking forward.
We caught each other off guard there. I was like, wait a minute, maybe it is sooner. I don't think so.
I'm looking forward to the US having a holiday. Okay?
Yep.
Speaking.
What's your take? What are your thoughts? May 1st. Next week, Monday, we got the Australian cash rate coming out. I mean, do you feel like they're gonna cut that sucker some more? I mean, we're at 1.5%.
No, I don't. I mean, housing markets in Aussie are very, very buoyant at the moment. They don't want to be causing a massive explosion of the housing market by cutting rates anymore at the moment. That's already soaring ahead. But the bias, they could go either way. It's pretty clear this year that they're going to do nothing. But there is potential for it to go either way. Whereas there's not potential at the moment for for the US to start cutting rates. That's not really on the cards.
Right.
It's a possibility in Aussie. That's what I'm saying.
Yep.
So I'm not expecting them to do anything this year. The markets aren't expecting them to do anything this year. But it's one that can go either way is what I was saying on that. So Aussie, no, but but Japan, Japan are not going to be putting up rates for a moment. Japanese rates are not going up in the next interim term. It's just not happening.
Got it.
So that's what I was more talking about generically.
Yep. And next week, I think the big thing, like you mentioned, FOMC on Wednesday. Remember last time the ADP non-farm employment change came out? That was a big shock, right? It came out at 263,000 jobs, and we thought the non-farm payroll is going to be huge, and then it came out, not that good. So I think next week's going to be focused a lot on, of course, non-farm payroll. That's the clear one, and then the FOMC. But again, you brought up a really good point. As important as the FOMC is on Wednesday, we don't expect them to be cutting any rates. We're going to be looking to the likelihood of how much increase we're going to have, over the next few decisions.
Well, I think I could almost write that speech for you. It's going to be that it's going to be data dependent. We're ahead of the curve. We don't want to react later than we don't want to react later than the market gives us. Otherwise, we have to react more aggressively. At the moment, we're watching the data. Well, we as traders can watch the data. The data is not particularly accelerating at the moment, so take what we can from that. She's not. There won't be any big changes in that. That speech, markets will watch it, but I say I'll write it for her if she wants.
You got it. You got it. Something really interesting here, Andrew. This has nothing to do with our topic, but I just have to bring it up because I've never seen it before. We got the live stream going. People in the room are watching, and we're talking back and forth with them live. But on YouTube, it says we're offline, not able to connect to chat, and it doesn't show that we have a live stream going. So there must be some glitch, but it's working. So usually we have a glitch and it doesn't work. Now we have a glitch and it's working. So I think we'll take it. So I don't know if this stream is going to be saved or not. That's why I'm bringing it up. Because YouTube.
Okay. Well, hopefully we haven't got. We had some technical problems with Tony earlier. I don't know because I saw Tony's end.
Did you?
On his stream this morning, but
yeah. When I popped into OBS, it said cannot find the right stream key, and then I just did it again, and it worked. So we'll see. The reason I'm bringing it up is if you're watching the stream, if somebody asks, we might not have it recorded because for some reason YouTube isn't showing it. We're streaming through YouTube, so I mean, obviously it's working. But anyway.
Okay,
Jose says,
the UK is a holiday. I mean, Europe is closed on Monday.
Yeah, cool. Laser FX said to you, Andrew, can you explain what you have on your monitors? Interested to see your layout. Morph says, I want to yeah. Can you explain what you have on your monitors? Laser FX wants to know what you have on your screens there, what you watch.
Okay, well, I have the charts that you all see every day on the stream. That's what I use as my main benchmark. So you have my different profiles that I have. So I've got it set into a number of different profiles. I've got the gold, stocks, and oil. I've got majors, minors. These are just the charts where I can whiz across the different time frames. This is the currency pair that I'm analysing at this moment in time. Okay, so that's just the one pair I'm looking here. But this is the Euro USD. So I was looking at the last time I looked at this was this morning or a couple of hours ago. I'm looking at this. I've got a couple of indicators on here which I don't trade off, but these are just a Bollinger Band on here for potential targets for a snapback. And here is basically the same. It's just the same, different pairs. It just keeps me an eye. Because I've got the squawk obviously banging out at me, rather than me having to switch through all the different screens. I've got them in front of me there, and I normally use this monitor for my sort of like news, checking around all the different sites. This moment I've got the FT. I've just been reading the FT this morning, an hour ago, and here I use for my personal stuff, emails and trading, and I also do
seeing where you're going to take your next vacation, the next Thailand trip, looking for new cars, that kind of stuff, right?
Looking at seeing who's checking. I got a video in Thailand, and I can check the webcam out there to see what they're doing by my pool. Make sure they're not, make sure they're behaving, make sure they're not.
That's funny.
So I keep an eye on my tenants and other stuff. Yeah, but this is basically, I mean, you don't need 4 screens. I've got 6 screens here, and this is just news. You don't need 6 screens to trade. I mean, I wouldn't be able to cope with one. I think I definitely need 3. Otherwise, it's a bit cramped. But you don't need them. I mean, this is all I do. I sit here in front of these all day long. So,
yeah, that's a good thing. On my charts, I usually have our Skype up because some of us are always chatting about something, and then a bunch of I like to watch Financial Juice. This is a question I've been getting a lot myself, Andrew. So I'm going to ask you. I like to watch the Twitter feeds. And also, I use Financial Juice for my news feed. What do you use for like breaking news about the news that comes out, the Impact News release? If there's some world stuff, what do you leave up on yours?
I was having a discussion this morning. I mean, well, I don't know if I should be plugging them, but I have to pay for it. I use Talking Forex. I mean, so I don't want to put a plug onto them. I haven't spoken to them about it, but I use those. You have to pay for them. Talking Forex. Financial Juice, I know, is free. They've got a squawk in there as well, haven't they? So I think I've just paid for this one, and I've always paid for it. But I don't know whether it's better or not. It's something I just always used. I think, to be honest, I've got quite a few subscriptions for things that I pay and I never cancel. But yeah, I use Talking Forex, which is a subsidiary, I think, of Rand Squawk. It's about $50 a month or something like that. But I also quite like the squawk that comes out of there. And I quite like the guys in there. They report it. They don't give their views. They just report what they see. If I'm doing something else, whether it's at the screens or whether I'm doing something else in the office or whatever, and they bellow out, watch dollar yen just broken key support levels. I think, oh yeah, forgot about that, and it just drags me back to my screen. That's why I quite like to do that. You don't get that so much on the. I got Bloomberg and CNBC running on the TV. I'm sort of reading. I mean, I quite like this. I mean, not only for the lovely presenters, but I mean, also they do give us the up to date. The up to date. They're talking about the GDP numbers taking in their stride and so forth. So I like listening to what they've got to say. And also, Bloomberg does have actually quite some good analysts. Market analysts come on discussing as well, so I quite listen to what the markets are saying on there. Some quite good guys on there that come on, and they come on as well. So that's basically where I would take my feed, and I don't really hang out in other chat rooms. I was in one. I was looking at Forex Juice earlier today, looking at their chat room today. They've only got about 5 or 6 people in there. Is that normally more than that?
Which one?
Your one, Forex Juice, is it?
Financial Juice?
Financial Juice, yeah.
I've never been in the chat room there. I never look. So
no, there's about 5 or 6 people in there, so it's not really populated there at the moment. But,
I don't look. You know, in my own way with I like to, like Irba said, Twitter's fast enough for most of the traders here. I think so. I mean, I'm not trading news events. I'm not trying to quickly get in and get out, you know, on a news event, but I like to at least know, you know, if there's a bomb going off or if there's some, you know, if there's some surprise, you know, Trump, you know, tweet or something like that.
Yeah.
But most of the time I'm just trying to, you know, live my life, and I'm doing things around the house and out in the yard, and I come in, take a look. But it is nice, you know, it is nice to be in the office. Maybe I'm on a Skype call with you, for example, and all of a sudden you hear, you know, this thing's going on. So it's, when you're there, it's nice to have it on. But I personally don't have any kind of, you know, pager or cell phone alert when I'm away from the desk. I mean, you got to live your life a little bit too.
The only thing I'll do is maybe set an alert on the screen to alert me if a key level's been hit, and which pings my iPhone when I'm out and about. But I don't. You know, I do have MT4 on the phone, but I very rarely pull a trade out of it when I'm away from the desk.
Oh yeah, I use it all the time on my phone too. I mean, I'm away a lot, but again, I agree with you 100%. I don't take any trades on it. I will get out of trades on the phone, you know, sometimes. It says, whenever Jason, Andrew, Tony, and some others take a trade, my office room and whole house lights blink like crazy. LOL. Yeah. Let's see. L goes faster than you. Fira sent me a nice message saying, hey, maybe try setting the the live stream to public, which could be a possible issue, but it is set. It's just a glitch there, but that was a nice help. Very nice. I think that's all the questions. I mean, do you have anything else, Andrew, to add before we sign off?
That's about it, really, for me. As I say, I'm still talking about the week ahead. Well, you know, I'll be on this afternoon again for my London Forex wrap. Just talking about the week ahead briefly, and then I've got to run to the school very shortly. You know, I'm still looking at taking long trades in euro. I'm still looking at taking long trades in British pound. I think there's been some massive extensions across some of the commodity currencies. So I would like to see a bit of a pullback in the pound and euro against against CAD and Oz and New Zealand before I get back in on that. So still, my bias is definitely getting along those. I'm sitting back a little bit at the moment in terms of the US dollar to find. I want to see some direction of that. We're in a bit of no man's land. We're at that Trump candle. You know, we're either going to break below it down to you know 9,800, 98 the figure, and 97.50. Or we're going to start pushing back up to the 100 level at some point, you know. And you know, I want to see some direction in terms of economic data. I want to see some clear, positive stuff coming out of you know, out of the Trump administration for me to see that dollar move. Dollar yen, you know, it's still, you know, it's got the bias to trickle on at the moment to trade up. But I think any strength above, you know, 112.50. 112 is going to hold it. Euro dollar, I think 109.50, 109.10 is going to see sellers coming in. We saw 109.50 earlier today. Above 110 euro dollar, I think is going to be heavily resisted, running into the French elections next weekend. So not next weekend, sorry, the weekend after. The next weekend is the French elections. So so this week we've got potential positioning in the euro ahead of the close of the weekend. So I'm mindful of that as well. Ahead of those French elections, I think anything above 110 against the euro is going to be coming to heavy resistance. So 110.50 maximum in euro dollar.
Nice. I like it. I like it. And my bias that I've been talking about all week is the same as well. I mean, my biases aren't changed, but like you said, pound CAD, what do you do with something like that? I mean, the thing's up 1,000 pips. I mean, you don't just buy randomly. You got to get some kind of a pullback to get long. So that's sort of my play is I'm going to be looking at euro pound to re-enter against short, but we'll see what the weekend brings with the election. So that's all I have. I haven't looked at the chat. I see it flickering over here, but I think should we call it for now, Andrew? Are we good? I know you got
I've got to go and pick the girls up from school, so I'll be done. I'll be on this evening in a few hours' time for a quick roundup if you're online, and then we'll see where we are. But for me, that's it for today. For now, I mean.
All right. Well, thanks for hanging out with us all week, everybody. And Andrew will be on later, and then I'll see you next week. Have a good one. Cheers.